what we essentially do is we create a custom offering or data store basically. So for example, in this case, I've built a custom offering using supplier PVO. So PVO is basically public view object, and so essentially all the PVOs they boil down to the base tables of ERP Cloud in some way. There are some PVOs which are extract PVOs, and they are the recommended ones to be used for extraction. If a PVO is not an extract PVO, then typically it has a bigger query in the background, which might be connecting a few tables. So in this case, for example, we are taking example of supplier PVO, and all we do is we just configure the custom offering with PVOs in BICC. Also, we do configure the external storage to be OCI object storage. So this is a demo environment. So we have connected this OCI object storage connection to our Oracle Cloud bucket. So that's how you connect the BICC, the Fusion part, with your OCI part. If you see here, there is a tool called data integration, and it's a cloud native tool. It's not a tool that you install from marketplace as such. It's a cloud native tool built in the OCI platform. So we go to data integration, and this is what we are using for getting the data from BICC over to ADW. Uh, so what we do is we essentially have a workspace. So all this is a demo application. So we have built a BICC to ADW workspace. What we do is we create different data assets, which basically data assets are connectors. So in the data assets, there are lots of data assets you can create. So we want to connect data source to a on-prem database or a independent database sitting in a cloud, and also maybe you have a target of a different database which is probably sitting in cloud or something. You can create that. So either you can use ADW if your data source or target is ADW, you can do ADW. Oracle database is one. So Oracle database is an independent database. It is not ADW. So any Oracle database sitting on OCI, maybe you deployed a Oracle database in OCI separately, or it's on-prem. Either way, you can use that. ATP is separate, the transaction processing. And apart from that, then there are other data sources which are non-Oracle that also you can connect to. So there is one data asset going and connecting to the BICC. There is one data asset going and connecting to the ADW database, and there is one data asset connecting to your object storage, which is native to your cloud environment. Once the data assets are created, uh, we build a project. So we have built a demo project. In this, we create different data flows. So there would be one data flow for each PVO that we saw in BICC. So for example, this is a supplier data flow. So in this, what we do is I'll just show you the source node. So there is one source and there's target naturally. So source is now using the data asset that I showed you, which is connecting to BICC. We use the custom offering as the schema, and then we select which PVO we want. And we mentioned that we want to extract data in the incremental fashion because we want only delta when you run this every day, and we don't want all the data to come out every day. So for the first time when you run this, you can mention so when you mention the extract strategy as incremental, and when you select the radio button which is called manage, that means this platform itself manages the last run date for this particular data flow internally, and so that helps us run the data flow in incremental fashion every time we schedule it. Like let's say we are running it every night at 12 a.m. or something, then every time it's just going to pull out data that was created or updated since last night. So that's the managed extract, and the target node is the ADW, which is the database. And in this case, what we do is we provide the details, we select the schema for the database, and we give the data entity as the table name. So, and in this case, again, we are not going to overwrite the data. We are going to merge the data. So new rows are inserted and updated rows are updated. So with that strategy, we select merge, and in that case, we have to select the merge keys, which is basically nothing but uh, set of IDs which essentially identify a record uniquely. So once that is done, that's pretty much it. We have put a filter over here just to check that, okay, just filter and give me the data where last update date is greater than. This is the system variable, last load date. And this system variable is maintained by this tool based on the incremental strategy that we define. So that, like, in a nutshell, to keep it very simple, it's literally like pull the data from BICC, run it in an incremental fashion, filter the data based on that incremental mode, and just merge it into ADW. So that's a data flow. Now, every data flow has to have a task. So there is a task which is just an encapsulator on top of data flow, which we publish to application. So I'll go back here and I'll also open a pipeline. Now, for example, we created a data flow, and the data one data flow is pertaining to one PVO. As such, we will have, let's say, 100 PVOs to be done. So we'll build those many data flows, and we want all of them to be executed probably in the serial fashion or parallel fashion, or you want to put some conditions when to run first 20, when to run next 20, or maybe you want to write some logic in that. So in that case, the pipeline comes in picture. So that's so right now, because I have only one data flow here, so I'm just keeping only one here. Let's assume we have like 20 of these. Then you will have a diagram showing many of these probably in parallel, and you can use different methods over here. Like, there are conditional operators, there are expressions that you can build, there are different SQL tasks you can call. So all these you can plug in over here and create your logic, very similar to how we do design the integrations in OIC. So it's quite similar to that. And then based on that, all your data flows will run. Uh, so that's the pipeline. Now let me show you one thing. Let me go here and okay, so because we are looking at suppliers, I'm going to show you. So I've logged into Fusion for to which we have connected, uh, and I once I run this data flow. So let me go back to the applications in OCI-DI. So there is an application that we have built in which these tasks are published, and when we run this task, what happens is you'll be able to see here. So the task was run, and it brought over 52 records because with the delta, those many records were new or updated. So and essentially all that data would be loaded into the table. So this is the same ADW database that we are using in the OCI data integration, and that's the table that we have mentioned in the data integration. And as you can see, we have all the data available over here. So that's the table where the data would be merged into. And I've built a mini application just so that we can visualize the data. So if you can see here, we have around 251 suppliers, and I'm just right now only showing a bunch of items over here, bunch of columns. Now let's say I go as this supplier administrator, and let me go back. Okay, procurement suppliers. Okay, and let me go to manage suppliers. And as we could see, we have 251 suppliers available in ADW. I'm just going to create a test supplier here, and I'll just say prospective and individual. I'm not going to put too much of information because we just want to see if the new record comes over to ADW, and I'll just save it. Okay, it's saved. Let's just make sure it's created. So we have test supplier over here, which we just created. Now let's go back to this one, and I'll just make sure we don't have it here. So as you can see, there are different test suppliers, which are not the ones that we created today. Ours is just test supplier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to OCI-DI and I'm going to run my pipeline. What it's going to do is it's going to submit the job, And let's wait for it to initiate, and then I'll show you what all things happen in the background. So when the pipeline starts running, what it's going to do is, if I expand this, okay, it's still okay. So it's running now. If I expand this, you will see it's going to kick off the integration task, which is basically the data flow. Once this integration task starts running, let's see, let's give it a few seconds. Okay, it's queued, right? Inside the pipeline, and we can refresh it here. Okay, so I see it's running now. So what happens when a particular data flow runs is, in Fusion, it submits a ESS job in background. So anytime you extract anything out of BICC, it's done through a ESS job. So as you can see, there is a job running over here. So it's implicitly submitted, and all it's going to do is it's going to pull out the data that was newly created or updated since we ran the data flow last time, which was probably sometime in today morning. So let's refresh this. It should complete in a couple of minutes, not more than that. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, it's succeeded. So the job in Fusion has been completed. Now we can just come here and refresh our pipeline. Uh, we don't have to do this. I'm just doing this so that we can see what happens in the background. Uh, and then let's refresh. So now essentially what's going to happen is it's going to get that CSV file with the data over to our bucket, because we have connected BICC to the uh, OCI object storage bucket, and that's this bucket. So as you can see, the data file has been generated. So it's just a minute ago, and that's CSV file. Now OCI-DI, the data integration tool, is going to essentially ingest this file if there is any data. I think that naturally we created one supplier, so at least that supplier should come over here, and it should insert that one into ADW table. So let's give it a few more seconds. Take much time. Okay. So as you can see, the task under it, which was the actual data flow, it's successfully completed. It pulled over 8 records. So it could be that some other suppliers may have been modified in that instance, so or created. So as you can see, now everything is in successful status. Now let me go to our application where we were looking at the suppliers. So earlier we had 251 suppliers. Let me just say go and refresh. So as it mentioned, 8 records. So that means 7 more suppliers were created by somebody in that instance. And now we have 259. And now if I say test supplier, there's our test supplier that we just created in Fusion. Go back to BICC. Okay. And what we have to do is we have to build a job over here, manage jobs. We have to create a job, and we can name, okay, supplier. So if I do this, then what we have to do is, again, when we build the job, we have to mention the PVO that we want to capture the deletes on. PVO as in the data entity. So I'll just select this one. Okay, and I'll just say save. So what's going to happen is I've just created a job basically, and in the job I have only mentioned the supplier preview. What happens is now we have to schedule the run of this job in BICC, and what I'll do is I'll just create a schedule over here. We can run it one off also. That's okay. Uh, Supplier delete. Here we have to select primary key extract, and the reason behind that is when we do this and we have to mention the object storage as the destination, run immediately, let's say, and none. If I submit this, okay, okay, let's say. So when I submit this and when the job completes, what it's going to do is it's simply going to create, and this only runs in the full load mode because intent of the primary key extract is to extract all the primary keys of all the active records. And how you're supposed to use this data is once the data file is created on object storage, we have to go and build a data flow in OCI data integration, get that file, load that primary key data into a separate table, and then write a logic to compare that your ADW table has 100 records, the primary key uh, data that you just got has 90 records, and the 10 records deficit that you see is basically the data that was deleted in Fusion. And that's how you identify what was deleted in Fusion, and you mark those 10 records as deleted in ADW.